All right, let's dive straight in. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going on a deeply unsettling yet absolutely fascinating journey. We're going to decode the literal mechanics of the supernatural. Look, forget the standard campfire ghost stories. Today, we're breaking down the alleged science, the deeply rooted rituals, and the documented accounts of paranormal dimensions. This is all based on the extensive experiences of occult narrator R.J. Arsh. We are looking strictly at the actual mechanics of the unseen. So, think about this. Can a human consciously stop their own heartbeat? Or even wilder, can a soul actually be pulled from one body and forced into another? Now, these aren't just hypothetical horror movie plots. According to the source material we're unpacking today, these are documented physical phenomena observed in extreme esoteric practices. We are jumping right into the deep end here. And this perfectly sets up the philosophical foundation of our entire explainer. The narrator of these accounts, R.J. Arsh, actually intentionally hides his face from the public. Why? Well, as he puts it, everyone knows about the body, but who knows the structure of the soul? He wants us focused entirely on the essence of the unseen. He's removing the visual distraction of a human face so we can better grasp the complex, frankly terrifying forces at play. Section 1. Terrifying energy in inanimate objects. We almost always picture paranormal events as, floating ghosts or apparitions, but the source material suggests a much more mechanical reality. We're talking about ordinary, inanimate objects becoming highly dangerous vessels for unseen energy. To really get this, we have to demystify a concept known as a yantra. Basically, a yantra is an object, a geometric tool, or literally even a human body that acts as a physical medium to capture and channel immense spiritual energy. Think of it like a battery or a conduit. And here's the kicker from our source. You don't always need some ancient mystical relic. Sometimes the most mundane everyday items can become accidental yantras if the energy aligns just right. This totally reframes everything we think we know about occult magic. The speaker takes a strictly neutral perspective here. Spiritual energy itself is neither good nor bad. Comparing black magic and white magic, it's kind of like comparing black money and white money. The currency's exactly the same, right? The difference lies entirely in the practitioner's intent and perspective. The energy just does exactly what it's commanded to do. Which brings us to this incredibly unsettling timeline of a Mumbai Ouija board case. So 6 friends played with a makeshift Ouija board, just drawn on a cheap piece of chart paper. Well, exactly 1 year later, the energy manifested. The main guy started walking outside every single night at 1:30 a.m. to violently smash his head against a wall. But here is the truly horrifying part. His 5 friends, miles away in their own homes, were perfectly synchronized, mimicking the exact same self-harm. To break this massive energetic link, a paranormal expert had to use a very specific yantra for a spirit transfer. A lead box containing a deceased newborn. This acted as an energy conductor, forcing those linked spirits into the vessel so they could be discarded into a river. That was literally the only way to break the connection. So the big takeaway here is that objects hold incredible power, especially sacred ones. Take this sequence of events, for example. A devoted woman completely broke traditional rules by hoarding broken, damaged idols in her home, literally stacking an entire wall with them. Because the idols were broken, the energy channeled through them became corrupted. She soon started hallucinating 12 headless women just dancing in a circle in her courtyard. Within a month, she was found in an unexplained coma, bleeding from her eyes, sitting cross-legged with those broken idols piled on her head and lap. Those corrupted yantras literally overloaded her reality. Section 2. Spirits entering the body. Okay, so if a physical object can hold that much terrifying energy, what happens when the human body itself becomes the ultimate yantra? According to local beliefs detailed in our source, the human body is frequently used as a vessel in intense cultural rituals, like the Buddha Kola in South India. During these deeply respected ceremonies, a human host intentionally acts as a yantra, channeling powerful local deities. The energy shift is so violent, so absolute, that the host undergoes terrifying physiological changes. 15. That number represents a really chilling sensory detail from the narrator's firsthand experience at one of these Buddha Kola rituals. He claims that when the possessed host grabbed his hand and pressed it to their chest, he personally felt that the host's heartbeat had completely stopped. Not for a second, but for 15 to 20 seconds. I mean, that is a terrifying biological impossibility. It strongly suggests the human soul was temporarily displaced by an unimaginable force.
Section 3. Crematoriums and Parallel Dimensions.
Let's step even further out into the fringes of the occult now. We've looked at objects, we've looked at bodies. Now let's focus on specific locations that supposedly act as literal dimensional portals. And the criteria for these portals, it's fascinating. Crematoriums, specifically, are considered points where the dimension of life, symbolized by Ram, directly collides with the dimension of death, symbolized by Shiv. The source cites investigations at a Ghaziabad post-mortem house and various cremation grounds where the environment itself just seems to break down. We're talking about smoke intentionally flowing directly against strong winds, hollowed bamboo sticks used in death rituals violently jumping entirely on their own, and EMF meters absolutely maxing out in areas with zero electrical wiring. The veil between realities in these places is terrifyingly thin. And if realities can blur like that, can we actually move between them? Well, this brings us to a highly advanced ancient tantric concept called Parkaya Pravesh. Basically, it's the extreme esoteric practice of consciously transferring one's soul out of your own physical body and into another. In ancient texts, it's theorized that sages use this to complete millions of mantra chants across multiple lifetimes, literally just hopping into new vessels when they needed to. Our source recounts a truly jaw-dropping eyewitness account of this happening at the Tarapith cremation grounds. The narrator watched an elderly ascetic pull a drowned corpse right out of the river. The old man stripped, sat directly on the corpse's ribcage, and struck a hollow stick against the ground 3 times while chanting. Then, the old man collapsed, completely lifeless. Just a moment later, the young, dead body on the ground grabbed the stick, stood up, put on clothes, and just walked away. A completely successful, horrifyingly seamless soul transfer right in front of his eyes. But what happens when an amateur tries to access a dimension they just don't understand? Let's pause the narrative for a second to look at the tragic case of a woman who obsessively practiced Tratak. Now, Tratak is a form of intense, unbroken staring meditation. She was doing this directly into antique mirrors, attempting to gain wealth and prosperity. The climax of this story is honestly profoundly disturbing. Despite being warned that mirrors harbor negative reflections of our dimension, she kept doing it. Then, one day, her lifeless body was discovered sitting at her dressing table. Half of her face and neck were chemically fused and glued inside the mirror itself. The authorities actually found traces of industrial-strength compounds bonding her flesh to the glass. It was exactly as if a massive, unseen force from the other side had violently grabbed her and tried to drag her entire physical body right into the mirror dimension. Section 4. The absolute necessity of a guru. So, after covering synchronized possessions, dimensional portals, and absolutely lethal meditations, the most crucial point is this: exploring the paranormal without a master is considered mathematically fatal by occult practitioners. A guru provides a necessary protective anchor when you're completely adrift in the unknown. They navigate you through these complex, dangerous dimensional layers, preventing the madness or fatal mistakes that can easily happen during intense meditation, or sadhana. And perhaps most importantly, you cannot just go out and hire one. In this tradition, a true guru finds the disciple when the disciple's energy is actually ready, never the other way around. Which leaves us with one final, incredibly provocative thought to close out our explainer today. We've looked at the mechanics of yantras, the bizarre physics of crematorium portals, and the violent consequences of entering dimensions uninvited. If these parallel dimensions and soul transfers are even fractionally real, what else is quietly hiding just out of sight in the unseen corners of our reality? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.